As always, we're glad to have you on board. We now want to continue with the day's discussion. And this one is a discussion that we're picking up from the last time we started this conversation about 2 weeks back. And it's all about polygamy. Now, last time we had two gents with us, one disagreeing with polygamy and one supporting polygamy. Now, looking at Kenya's journey when it comes to polygamy, it was first, legally speaking, it was first a table in 1981, but it never saw the light of day. Again, it was presented before Parliament in 2007, but did not go through. 2009, it was presented again, and it had remained pending up until 2014, where it was finally debated upon and passed. It was assented by the President on the 29th of April 2014 and came into effect on the 1st of May 2014. Looking at Kenya's married population, 10% are in polygamous marriages, and most of which are customary. But where do we stand when it comes to polygamy? Last time, the gents I had in studio were almost, getting down to fist in regards to their opinion, and both of them were basing their arguments on the good book. And today, we continue with those same gents and a lady with us in studio. I'll start with the lady joining us today. We have Josephine Mburu, who is a counselor and a motivational speaker. Karibu sana, Josephine.
Thank you very much.
We're glad to have you.
Thank you.
Now, the gents that we had last time, to the extreme left, we have Fred Abok, who is a mentor, a motivational speaker, and also a minister of the gospel on the blue side of the ring. Karibu sana.
Thank you.
And to my immediate left, we have Reverend Vincent Mulwa, who actually, Mulwa, who supports polygamy. Karibu sana.
Thank you very much.
Tuendelee na hii discussion.
Yes.
Now, before we even get started, I want to hear from you, Josephine. Do you support polygamy?
No.
No. Why is that?
The reason I don't support polygamy, because from the creation, when God was creating the world, the day he decided to create a man, he said, and let us make a man who is of our likeness. He didn't say, let us create men. It was only one man. And later God saw the man was so sad, he was lonely. Then he called his committee and said, let us create him a helper. So God created him a helper, not helpers. That's when I'm here seated here to talk about polygamy. I really reject and neglect, and I say I can't accept because I'm a spiritual girl.
Yeah.
I'm saved. I read the Bible, and I've come from a ground of polygamous. My grandfather was a polygamous, and I've seen what has been in that family.
Okay.
And in most cases, it does not end very well.
It doesn't end well in most cases.
Yes.
All right. Now remember, you can be part of this conversation. The hashtag ever remains hashtag Good Morning Kenya at KBC Television. My handle is the General Boy, and of course our SMS line 20154. It is on the top left of your screen, and start your messages with the word Channel 1, KBC Channel 1, the number to help us better get all your messages. Abok.
Yes.
She is in speaking the same voice as you are. Doesn't support polygamy.
Very true. Nothing is far from the truth, Jen. Because, women are created and made to be helpers to man. And in a concept of marriage, God ideology concept of marriage is they were to mutually complete one another, but also to mirror God's image. Mirroring God's image is as God originated marriage in the Garden of Eden, all right? And the Bible says that God put Adam into sleep and picked his rib and made a woman. And when Adam woke up, he said, and this is a bone of my bone. He didn't say, these are bones of my bone.
Okay.
So the original ideology of God in marriage is one man, one wife.
One man, one woman.
One woman.
Yeah.
The polygamy started with men who were fulfilling their desperate desires, and in feeling to be able to fulfill them. But all of it, because I have got an opportunity to read my brother Mulwa's book.
Yeah.
And what Mulwa is actually not bringing out is the end results of this polygamy.
Okay.
Even if you're drinking alcohol, but they tell you that excessive consumption of alcohol is dangerous to your life. What Mulwa is not telling people out there, that all this polygamy that I'm championing about, all their end were disastrous. None of those polygamy marriages in the Bible ended successfully.
Okay.
Mulwa would say that none of the monogamous ended successfully. But you know what? We are actually not making up a comparison.
Yeah.
Because Jesus now comes and speaks about it boldly. And he's saying that it is good for a man to leave his parents and cleave to his wife. Now, the aspect of living and cleaving is based on an individual purpose, not on a communal aspect.
All right. Reverend Mulwa.
Yes, please.
He's saying some of these polygamous institutions started in an effort to satisfy some ill desires.
Yes.
Your thoughts?
In fact, you have made my start very nice, because that is the first point I wanted to make.
Yes.
In this national TV, there's a very bad perception, there's a very bad connotation that is spoken about polygamy. Unfortunately, it demeans women. When we talk about polygamy, in terms of a man looking for sex partners, right? A man desiring to satisfy sex. You know what you're doing? We are reducing women to sex objects, right?
Yeah.
We are making them thoughtless beings. We're just imagining that the women are like utensils, which I can go for as much as I want. I can take as many as I want, depending on my greed and my financial ability.
Okay.
It brings in, from that perspective, brings it that women are not consulted. The women in Mpangwa Kando and the women in polygamy have no say in it. It is a man who is deciding. Which that one then reduces, it makes women actually very desperate objects. So that is not true. As far as I'm concerned, polygamy is actually not about men. It's about nature, and when I talk about nature, we're talking of God. God allowing a system where there are more women for wife than the men for husband. Polygamy should actually, we should talk of it from Isaiah chapter 4. When 7 women seated and realizing that we are sober, we have brains, we don't want to live wrong, all right? And that there is only one man. Now, how do we go about? So I'm saying polygamy is from the women's side, not from the men's side. So if we take it to be from the men's side, we make women sex objects. Thoughtless, they have no conscience, they have no brains. It's only a man who goes picking. Yes.
Do we have a proper representation of what polygamy is in this day and time we're living in?
The problem we have today is still what I'm saying, westernization. The education system, the secular education, and the church. So, incidentally, they both came to Africa at the same time.
Yeah.
The white man brought the church and the education. And the two have been teaching us throughout that polygamy is bad. The secular education teaches that polygamy is bad. The church teaches that polygamy is bad. We have gotten used to that. We have been fixed to that thinking. Nobody has been trying to bring out the good side of polygamy, how it is good for society, how it is manageable, how it brings distance. No, nobody has been looking at that. We have only been told it is a bad thing.
Okay.
In the church, we are told it's bad. In school, we are told it's bad. So that is the problem we have. Otherwise, the Bible is a very good book to guide us on how to manage polygamy.
Okay.
It's the best one.
All right. Josephine,
Yes.
just in from what Reverend Mulwa is saying, the problem is not polygamy, it's the representation of what polygamy is from what we have been taught with the Western form of religion that came with Christianity and the education system. Do you agree with that?
I don't agree, because this is a matter of mindset.
Yeah.
How do you see things happening? Like now in the same Bible, look at the book of Genesis, where Sarah decided, the moment Sarah decided that she need a co-wife for a child, we found that the problem started in that house. The disrespect, people started fighting, she started hurting herself because she came up with a bad and wrong decision. If she waited upon the Lord as God had promised them to wait, the baby would have come and the family would continue safely. But now look at it this way. Sarah told the husband, now we have stayed long without a child. Can't you take our housemaid and lie with her and get a child? Immediately the girl got pregnant. We all know what happened. Problem started.
Okay.
Sarah herself started seeing as if the girl want to take over the home. And this is where the problems are coming in polygamy. In polygamy itself, it has given birth to all these problems we see today.
In this day and time.
In today's life.
Okay.
It is out of polygamous. Those people who did that, including those ones in the Bible, including our great-great-grandfather who did this, they have brought us into this situation.
Okay.
One,
All right.
idolatry. Because once you take more than one wife, you cannot share love for two of them. Because the Bible states clearly, and both become one. So when you include two, the sharing of two, the one love to two, it becomes a problem.
It becomes a problem.
It becomes a problem.
All right.
Also, there is another problem. This kind of, this life you see people are revenging and bitterness, jealous, envy. It is a child of polygamy. Because you went in the field, you looked for a wife, and you got a wife. And then you shared half of yourself to this wife. And then you are left with half of your wife and yourself. So immediately you leave you look for another woman. You share your half to the other woman. So the other woman takes your half and you take his half. So in you, you have two women. So you are no longer a man. You are a woman in two. So the things you'll start doing will tell you, if you continue taking another wife, now you take it for status. Now I am a man. And I want you to believe me.
Yes.
Those people who are taking more wives, they are those people who think they are very rich.
Okay.
Because you cannot meet a poor man going for two wives. To give what? Huh? So today you find there is so much things happening because our great-great-grandfathers went for polygamy. So they mixed bloods from this to this. So when you mix those bloods in your home, they become a disaster.
But in so many cases, we hear of men who are not as financially empowered being the ones with multiple wives and so many children who they cannot be able to take care of, as compared to men who are financially very able.
Let me tell you, I've said it is for the status. So in some communities, which I cannot mention, some say when you have many wives, you'll get big generation. When you die, they will say, this man was a gentleman. He left many wives and many children. They even don't care what else they have. They want only the status to be read. Many wives, many children.
All right.
He has left 7.
Abok,
Yes.
is the problem with polygamy the representation of polygamy or polygamy in itself, as is? Or what we have been cultured to view polygamy as?
It's not really what we've been cultured to view polygamy are. The concept of polygamy itself is wrong. Why is this wrong? Because the ideology of marriage is an institution that is supposed to empower both partners. And both partners can only be empowered when they are in marriage and they know that they are in to support one another, to validate one another, but also to authenticate one another. The moral degradation in a woman when she gets into a polygamous cycle, even if a man is so rich, is so detrimental to an extent that the morale, because you know, the love and the enthusiasm in a marriage is shared when you know that you're solely the inculcated individual responsible for this particular person. When you have a notion that your husband is sharing you with someone else, you begin to degrade, and you know you don't give the best. because you know you are not the ultimate one. There are several others who can actually be able to do what you're doing.
Okay.
And so it is not the campaign about it. It's not the popularity about it, but the ideology behind it. Number one, it is not godly.
Okay.
Number two, it is centered on a selfish gain. It's not even status as Boy would say it. Because if it is status is something that gives you a positive image. But it gives on a negative image. And you know, the other time Mulwa said that he campaigned for polygamy for people who are able. How will you go there to campaign for morality of the people who are able? You know, if it is immoral, it guides on, it drains back to everyone. Are we getting one another? And you know, one thing that also Mulwa need to tell us, where is God saying that I validate polygamy?
So would you say polygamy is an excuse for adultery?
It's basic. Nothing is further from the truth, Jen, because why is people getting into polygamy, and even more of adultery, in that it's an excuse for self-gratification, all right, to fulfill, because there is, in most cases, there is no woman who tells the husband, please now marry another wife.
All right. Reverend,
Yes.
is it right to say that, you know, polygamy is an excuse to adultery? Because
Well,
most of these
very
polygamous
good
marriages are
question.
never church weddings. Very
See,
few get to be that.
One, the great problem we have is, what is adultery? Can we first define what adultery is? Adultery is a sin of going to another man's wife. An adulteress is a woman who has an husband and she allows another man into her. That's a adulteress and a daughter. Now, so adultery is not just about going into another man, a woman. No, it is going into the wife of a husband who is alive. It is not a new sin in the Bible. Even before the law, it was there adultery. That is why when Abraham goes to that king, there was that issue. He passed through a king and he tells his wife, you are my sister. And the king attempts to marry her. God punished the king. Why? Because he was told by his people, you are a dead man. You have gotten into somebody's wife. So the issue adultery needs to be clarified, because this is why we are getting everything wrong. And I said, if we can define adultery clearly, we'll sort out this issue. Please, polygamy is not adultery.
Okay.
Having another wife is not adultery. Not at all. All right? Please, if that be the case, then the Bible will be a very bad book. Because then it will be that God was against somebody getting, it will be that God was for somebody getting another wife, and God is against it. It cannot happen. God cannot have two feelings. God is against adultery, and adultery is very clear. Going into a wife of another man. It is the sin of Solomon. And Nathan tells him very clearly, why have you done this? I God, gave you all the wives of your master. Why then have you despised the commandment of the Lord? And I say, adultery, there are two things. There is adultery and fornication. Fornication is sexual irresponsibility.
Before marriage.
No, not even before marriage. Even for married people.
In the marriage contract.
All right?
That's infidelity.
Yes, I mean, fornication and sexual immorality is irresponsible sexual behavior, symbol. In this irresponsible sexual behavior, there is one which is picked out on its own, called adultery. And it must always be taken out, because the commandments take adultery out of fornication. You have fornication there, and inside fornication, there is a subset called adultery. And we need to always get adultery very clearly. It is going into the wife of another man who is alive. All right, now when my friends say about God in the beginning, I want to make this very clear. Please, we don't have a new God. God has been God from before creation, even today. And at creation, God created, yes, one man, one wife. Yes, for a seed of starting life. All right? God was not in a hurry to fill the earth with humanity. Incidentally, you need to look at things. For animals, God said, let the earth be full of animals. And they were filled animals. But for humanity, God started slowly. One man, one wife, to start reproducing. All right? And when they started reproducing, in the reproducing, we don't see the continuity of a one and of man, woman, man, woman, man, woman. We don't see it. It cannot be by mistake. We cannot say that God forgot what he was doing.
Yeah.
The same God, now, who has not replicated monogamy in the offsprings of Adam and Eve. I said that you were not there the other day. Please, if God was keen on maintaining monogamy, he could have had Cain and Janet, Abel and Margaret, Seth and Jacinta, so that the format remains. Now, there's no evidence of this format remaining. As people increased, it just became automatic. Women for wife became more. And I am saying it is wrong to imagine that polygamy is about a man being selfish. I'm saying when you say that, you degrade women. You make women objects, of sex. So it is like they are not consulted, it's just a man deciding. Please, these women who are in second wife, who are in Mpango, kind of their brains, they thought about it, and they thought, I need this man. They are not being raped. So we cannot say, okay, you talk of Sarah and Abraham. Let me tell you something you don't know about Sarah and Abraham. The Bible is very clear. Abraham does not only have Agar. He has very many concubines. Genesis chapter 25, verse 5 and 6. And Abraham gave all...
Not when Sarah is alive. Please
no,
be
please,
very
please,
contextual.
No,
I have masters in divinity, my friend.
Whatever you have, you read the Bible. Okay, we may not have time. It is when Sarah is alive. It is when Sarah is alive. You go read it again, please. I want to read it again. Genesis chapter 25, please. Abraham had many sons with concubines. So we are not saying, and Sarah was never jealous about the concubines of Abraham. Right? So we are not going to base doctrine of God on women jealousy. We also have to be very careful here. Yes. We say women are jealous. Jealous is sin. We are not going to build sin and magnify it so that to please, to ensure that there is no jealousy, all right? That because women are jealous, we have to please them to fear their jealousy. Jealousy is sin. It needs to be taken out of the women. That's what I'm saying. Then there is need for proper preaching and the teaching of marriage and the polygamy to be well presented how it is to be. Because I'm saying, sorry for taking much time. I like listening to others also. I'm saying this. I've said polygamy is not about men. It is about there being women needing a man. So if we say that it's only one man, one wife, what will happen to the natural environment where the women are more? What will women be doing without a husband? They are willing to be number 2, number 3, but the church is saying, no, don't be. And it's not giving an option. So we end up in a situation where they are hiding. Why should we have a religion where people live in hiding officially? You know, it's very bad. I mean, because we have created the environment where the men are not enough, the women are more, created by God, and you don't want a man to take several, and he is willing, and a woman is willing, and the woman to be willing to be number 2, number 3, she is not out of her brains. She's not a slave.
All right.
She has made a choice.
Good.
Abok.
Yes. You have really allowed Reverend Mulwa to go round on one thing. Allow me to quote this. One thing Reverend Mulwa need to prove, if polygamy is a God's idea, and where has God placed that this is the desire? Because right from the inception, God created Adam and Eve, all right? And he looked at them and he said, it's good. God gave a command to Adam and Eve, be ye multiply and fill the earth. Yes. It is on the context of monogamy that the earth was to be filled. Proverbs says that every woman will have his own mate. Are we getting one another? Now, God is not disorganized to create a woman and he has not created a mate. It's because of the spiritual corruption that we have in the society today. The Bible says in the book of Philippians that not everything that is acceptable is permissive, right? So the fact that something could look like it is the norm, it does not mean that it originated from God. Okay. All right? So those are a very fundamental fact that needs to be looked into. And I still have to put it very clear that polygamy is an idea of man satisfying his own ego.
All right.
Because the aspect of cleaving cannot be authentic when it is based on polygamy.
Josephine.
Also, me, I want to add something on this. When God created these people, he said, what God has put together, nobody should put asunder. You should not come as a second party or the third party to separate these people. When you get another woman from somewhere else and you bring her in your home, or you marry him and you become a polygamous, you have come to separate the first marriage. It can't work. Okay. Actually, it can't work. What you have brought in the house or in your compound is death.
All right.
And,
now,
and put to that, Jen, just to add on what she has said, is that let us not put what our ideas are to fit in what we think God should have done. If God said let no man separate, let no woman separate, it is God speaking. When a man has an idea, when Lamech has an idea of bringing another woman, when Abraham has an idea of bringing another woman, when Gideon has an idea of bringing another woman, God is not speaking on this thing. God is just permissive that they have actually done a mistake, and is a gracious God, is allowing them to go. But does not mean that it is right. On what context are we talking about? Are we trying to fix things based on our own ideology, or we are referring on into what the scripture says and what ought to be done? If then it's about our ideology, then we will say let a man marry another man and let it be legal because there are many men out there. But we are sticking on into God's ideology. What does God say about marriage?
Now let's bring in the aspect of children. You'll be responding to this, Reverend Mulwa, just basing on the same verse that is Genesis 25. Abraham had taken another wife whose name was Keturah. She bore him 6 more children, and they went on to have many other descendants. But when close to his death, Abraham left everything he owned to Isaac. But while he was still living, he gave gifts to his son of his concubines and sent them away from his son. Now that is what is written. When we look at children who are in polygamous relationships, is it true when we say we are subjecting them to unnecessary poverty and discrimination and social pressure when we're putting them in situations where they have no control over?
You know, the only problem is that we are fighting, trying to beat up a stone. And they're refusing
a stone that is polygamy.
Yes. We are trying to beat a stone, and we will only hurt our own figures.
Yes.
Whichever way you go around about it, life has been polygamous from after Adam and Eve. From after Adam and Eve, life became polygamous up to today. And now we are trying to create a new ideology to life to bring monogamy into this polygamous God-created environment. All right. Now you're saying this, that in polygamy, the children are distracted and all that. I am saying, today, look at in Kenya and everywhere. There are children born out of wedlock. And the law has allowed that those children should inherit from their father. Now, what is the difference? That this man was proudly monogamous, and he is a bishop, and I'm praying that the women with the children of bishops should come out and also declare, right? I'm saying that this archbishop, had one wife. And he had hidden children outside there. Come the day of his death, the children are brought up. Now, where is the peace of the children of the one wife? That's what I'm saying. We're only trying to fight with a stone.
So either
because
way,
it is still
children
there.
Get to suffer.
Oh, yes. So the better way is let the children come up in advance. Let somebody know that is my stepbrother. we are of the same father.
Yes.
From day one, my father has that other wife, that is my stepbrother. And there are stepbrothers who are very friendly, by the way. There are stepbrothers who are very good friends.
All right.
Not all of them are enemies.
All right.
Sawa.
Yeah.
And well, I come also from a polygamous family. And we are friends with our stepbrother. There's no problem.
Who was polygamous in your family?
My father is a polygamous man.
How was it growing up in a polygamous family?
Well, you see what I'm saying? I've told you that life was never easy. Even for the monogamous families and the polygamous families, life was never easy. Right? Even those who are monogamous.
Are you monogamous now?
No.
To make the comparison.
Well, when I got this understanding, I got another wife. I'm all right. I'm polygamous.
All right.
Yes, now.
All right.
I have no problem about it.
SMS line is 20154. Do start your messages with the word channel 1. No space between the channel and the number 1. It's numerical 1. Channel 1. So from a polygamous background, you saw how, growing up it was, and you opted to go the same way. Let me come to you, Josephine. Yes. You also mentioned your grandfather was polygamous.
Yes.
Did you get to live in a time where he was present?
Yes.
How was it for you?
For me, I was young.
And even for your parents?
For me, I was very young when because he died back 1978. I was a small girl.
All right.
But I met my grandfather with those 3 wives. When we were, as we come from Muranga, and my mother comes from Transmara, or Mburu. So we used to be taken there to visit our grandfather. But we could find things are not okay. One uncle from the first wife could not relate well with my grandmother. He could not take her well because now my grandmother was old. And I've never seen since I was born this family coming together. And we are so many of us. I know some are listening right now because I told them to switch on and listen this. We have never come together as our grandfathers family to see to eat together or to know each other. And that's why I was thanking God because they came up with the idea that we have now to come together, know each other. Like now, if it is my son or my daughter, it is not a surprise to be married by a son of my cousin or a son of my relative.
Because you don't know each other.
Because I don't know each other. When we come now back on this other side, the children who are put together by polygamous, when it comes to sharing of properties, that's when you know what is polygamous. Monogamy, you come to see, if it is me and my children and my family, when we come to share things, we'll share as one family. But when we include now a larger family size of it, we end up in court. You get me? That is one thing, I discourage polygamous because you don't give your family the best. You pretend, let me tell you, for those like Mburu here, if he is very sure with us and tell us, 2 wives in our tradition or where I have come, it's a pot of witches. They cook in the same pot. They'll never come together. They'll never walk hand in hand. Even if you see them outside there saying, this is my co-wife, it is not coming deep down the heart.
Right.
It is because now we are out there. It's convenience. We can't show up. We can't blast each other. So when we go out, but this is not deep down our heart. Even Mulwa will tell you sometimes he's not happy with the same marriage. It can't work very well because you cannot share. I want to ask
you a question.
Ask.
Are we sure that in all cases, brothers of the same father don't fight? Can we say that there are never issues of children of the same father? Can somebody say it doesn't arise?
Hold on. You'll get your time.
Can you say that it does not arise? That children of the same mother have a problem? Do you say it can't arise? Has it ever happened?
It arises,
okay,
but not always. And listen. Let me finish. To manage brothers who are from the same mother is easier than the brothers of extended family.
Okay, let me answer you. You are talking of management. Now, that is a different topic. Children management.
Yes.
We are not going to base life on people who are not able to manage their families.
All right.
There are people who are unable to manage children of the same mother. There are mothers unable to manage their own children. We are not going to base life on people who are failures. Those are the failures. And most of them are the monogamous ones. They are not able to manage their own children.
All
Right?
All right.
Jen.
Let me hear from Abok.
Jen,
Just hold on. Yes,
as you are hearing from me,
Yes.
one question that you need to ask Mulwa to authenticate is where did God ordain polygamy?
Sawa, let me answer that one.
Yes.
Let me answer that one.
Please don't go about the
Please,
bush.
I'm not
Don't
going-
speak a lot of things. Answer
Because
that, then I come back.
Okay, sawa. I've said one. God is a creator. He created just one man, one wife. He never replicated it in the offspring. God, as humanity increased, we don't have anywhere God complaining of any man getting polygamous. We are only seeing polygamy becoming normal. Why is it becoming normal? Because God has allowed it that there are always more women for wife than the men for husband. So it is natural. It moves seamlessly. There is nowhere we are seeing God complaining that a man has married many wives. There's nowhere at all in the scriptures. And we are seeing in the same script, in the prophets of God talking and allowing it to have many wives. Right? We are seeing Moses and God defending him by taking another wife. We are seeing Nathan telling David, God gave you, not the devil. We are seeing Isaiah saying, for the 7 women will take one man. These are servants of God.
Yeah.
All right? When Jesus is talking in Malachi, I want to...
Yes.
Matthew.
Yes.
Matthew 19, my sister. Jesus is speaking to a polygamous people. And he told, yes, in Matthew 19.
Prove it.
I can prove it.
Prove it. Go ahead, please.
I'll prove it.
And please make your sentence short, because
Okay,
you're
so-
bringing a lot of
All
other
right.
things.
All right.
As you look for that scripture, remember our SMS line is 20154. Do start your messages with the word channel 1, the number, no space in between. Let me just read some of the ones that we have received so far. We have Natalie from Mombasa, Nyali area saying, I don't support polygamy at all because it brings conflict in the family. Number 1. Polygamy as a source of conflict. We'll be addressing that. Number 2, we have, they didn't leave a name, but say, I tend to agree with polygamy as it helps with procreation, which God put us in earth for. Watching from Yahururu, the whole issue of procreation. Number 3, we have Abdul Gafar from Kilifi County and Asama Aid Murah from me and my 4 wives. I invite Pastor Mula to come and have biryani in my house for celebration. All right. We also have James from Nakuru saying, mimi niko na wawili na tuko tu sawa. Nikijaliwa niongeze mwingine, itakuwa sawa. We need to create a balance, to balance nature. Now, 3 things have been brought out. What you were saying, balancing nature. Number 2, procreation. And number 3, the issue of conflict. Let's start with conflict. That let me hear from you, Mulwa. Pastor Mulwa, when it comes to polygamy as one of the contributors of conflict in big families.
Okay. Well, let me use the scriptures, please. I'm saying, we look at the monogamous family of Isaac, Jacob, and
Start from
just a minute. No, let me. I've just started where I want. Jacob and Esau, right? The 2 are in great conflict.
Yeah.
Am I right?
Yeah.
Go to the family of Jacob, now his own family. He has 4 wives with 12 sons. The 12 sons are working harmoniously. There is no conflict. Please, my brother misquoted scripture the other day.
Yeah.
Please, the selling of Joseph by his brothers was not about rivalry. It was about his dreams that I will rule all of you and my father and mother. That's why all the sons, they hated him in unison. Not because of polygamy. There's no polygamy. The children of Jacob are very much in agreement. Going, feeding, going looking at their father's sheep in unison. And they do everything and they consult. So I am just saying about conflicts in family, it's more of a management issue. And that is why men of many wives need to manage their families nicely, like Jacob.
Yeah.
All right? But if you are a careless man, like Isaac, Isaac incidentally is a man that listens to his wife. Read very well. His wife tells you, you know, this son has married this, and I have a problem. I don't want him to marry. And Isaac agrees. So men who tend to agree to the wishes of their of the women cannot manage polygamy.
Okay.
They can't. Men that tend to listen to the women cannot. You don't try it.
To their wives.
You want only to listen to your wives. You can't manage polygamy.
Okay.
No, don't try it. You'll die.
Look at that assumption and put it into perspective. Where we are actually, marriage is supposed to mirror God's image.
Yeah.
Whereby everyone is supposed to bring their ideology without being jeopardized or being looked down on. Now you are saying that polygamy only work where men has the autonomy and the authoritative power to control their wives, which means that Mulwa is agreeing that in the polygamy, women has no say. They're there to be seen and not to be heard. But God intended for marriage is to be a place whereby people mutually complete one another by the concept of actually bringing on their ideology and being heard and supporting one another to be able to make that marriage better.
Okay.
Now, he has actually not gotten any place that God has ordained polygamy as a marriage. He's gone around the bush and asked him this question 3 times and he has not answered. Now, the other concept is that when we look at in different aspects, in Matthew chapter 19, verses 3 to 9, we are told that elders must actually be husbands of one wife. And that is a command that Paul is speaking.
That is First Timothy, not Matthew.
No. It's in Acts and it's also in Timothy. Are we getting one another?
Acts?
Yes.
Somewhere in Acts?
No, it's 1 Timothy 3:2.
Yes.
Yes. All right. Husband must be one wife. Why not 2? Now, it is illegal for someone like Mulwa to call himself a reverend today with 2 wives. In fact, from today, after this show, we need to go to the Attorney General and actually remove that license of actually being, because he's actually going against the same command that is supposed to protect.
All right.
Now, the jealousy that is in polygamy is uncomparable. It makes a man master over women. Polygamy gives man to be a master over women, which is not scriptural. Are we getting one another?
Why is it not scriptural?
All right. Ephesians 5, actually it denies us on this opportunity. So we need to get this on very clear. Christ died for the church. And the church is the bride. Are we getting one another?
Right.
A husband needs to be devoted to one wife that is ready to give himself to.
No.
All right, let me hear from Josephine before Pastor Mulwa, you come in. Just hearing from what the 2 gents are saying.
Mr. Abok has jumped my answer.
Yeah.
I wanted to tell Mr. Mburu that the Bible states clearly, for you to become an elder, you must be a man of one wife.
That is what I want to read. I want to read that first.
Let me first finish.
Let me read
Just
that.
let her finish and then you can be able to read. Yeah.
Whether I'm holding the Bible here.
Okay.
Yes.
A man must be a man of one wife, respected by his children. What was the reason made for you to be told to have one wife? Because of problems. Maybe you want to go to give a sermon, a good sermon, and you had a difference with one wife. I am telling you the truth, you can't. So, what I mean with polygamous, it will never work well. Even if you try to paint it white or red or green, it cannot work well.
All right.
And especially to a man of God.
Okay,
Pastor
let me answer you. We have a problem because the Bibles have been diluted by these very many translations.
Yes.
That's why I read the King James Bible.
Read.
Just
James
the King James version, 1 Timothy chapter 3, verse 2. A bishop must be blameless, husband of one wife, blah, blah, blah. Right. I wanted just to, you want one, and that's the same. You go down, a deacon also, husband of one wife. Now, please.
A pastor is excluded.
Just a minute, please. Let's go slowly. Paul also tells Titus, say about, I left him in Crete to appoint bishops and elders. Now, let's get this. In the Bible, a bishop is not a calling. Whoever desires the office, verse 1, this is a true saying. If a man desires the office of a bishop, he desires a good work. A bishopric is work that is given to a believer who has shown interest in that work. And there are qualifications. Now, the bishop, therefore, is somebody appointed by Pastor Timothy. Pastor Timothy is the one to appoint bishops. Now, I'm just saying, in the day of Paul, please, bishops are not seniors to pastors.
Yes.
A bishop is a church chairman. A bishop is a church administrator appointed by the pastor. Now, please, pastors are called from God, and there are no qualifications. Paul says in Ephesians, when he went up, he called some, that's God, to be first apostles, prophets, evangelists, pastors, and teachers. And there is nowhere he has implicated one wife, one rule for pastors, apostles, prophets. He only implicated it for bishops and deacons.
All right.
And, just a minute, let me finish. For him to implicate that, remember, he is speaking the first century. These are not children. These are people who have been continuing in life. They have come to church when they are normal. So in that day, people are polygamous. So Paul is preaching to a polygamous audience. So he is telling them, because you are the one to choose the chairman, who is called a bishop, or the administrator, please don't choose the man of many wives, choose the man of one wife. And he doesn't give any reasons for it. It just ends there. And I can give you the reasons. It's obvious. The man of one wife is idle. The man of